guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Colored In podcast. I'm your host, Nai. That's N-A-I because I'm nice and innovative. Let's get into it. So today we're going to be tackling our fourth pillar, which is wellness. For those who may be new to the series or not familiar with the pillars, let me be the first to welcome you to the crew. The crew, or just crew, doesn't really matter, is an acronym for the four themes that this podcast focuses on. It stands for career and culture, relationships, education, and wellness. I decided to focus my podcast on these themes because I think there are some key concepts that can give us a structured way at looking at the world. And honestly, guys, I go into it a lot and how I was able to brainstorm them in the first episode. So if you haven't listened to it, be sure to check out episode 1 and all the other episodes that have already been posted. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, like our posts, share our episodes, and DM us your feedback. You can find us at _colored_in. Okay, now let's get into the swing of things. Considering that we're on our last letter today, like we've kind of had a little journey through our 4 pillars, I wanted to do something a little bit different and actually tell you guys a little bit about my own wellness and my own personal wellness, just to have you guys get to know a little bit more about me. So like I said earlier, or I've said in previous episodes, I'm in my early 20s. And with that, I will also say I am under 25. And I've actually had a therapist for the past 8 years. I don't want that to sound stigmatized or seem negative. I love my therapist. I was given to her through a court order, and she's stuck around ever since. And she's been amazing. She's an amazing person. She is an amazing advocate for wellness, and she's honestly like really transformed the way I think and the way I think about my health. We all know that therapy and therapists have been stigmatized negatively within the Black community. I want to say right now that I don't think therapy is a stigma or it should have a negative stigma. It's something that's actually very important and probably a tool that we need to introduce into our lives much earlier on. So with that, I would also like to, I'm also going to say, I've been on anxiety medication for the past 5 years, although I am slowly weaning off of it. So thank the Lord. But if you can put the 2 and 2 together, considering that I've had a therapist for 8 years, well into my teens, and I've also been on some anxiety meds, I think that we can infer that my mental wellness has been a trying experience and journey. I wouldn't say I've like had a traumatic experiences. In the grand scheme of things, I like to be very grateful for the life that I had and the life that I've been given. But there were points and moments in my life where I struggled, and I struggled a lot with being positive, having a different perspective, taking care of myself and taking care of my mental well-being. So my mental journey, I am grateful for it, and it was a difficult and challenging one, and it's going to be even more challenging as we grow up, and as I grow up, and as I continue on trying new experiences and going after my dreams and just doing what I want to do. But I'm ready for it. Well, I'm not like ready for it, but I am definitely willing to go after it and let it be as hard as it can be, because I know that I can have the tools to make myself right again. So mentally, that's my wellness. I am good. I'm mentally stable, guys. Don't worry. Sometimes, but I got here through a pretty difficult journey, and it actually started at a pretty young age. But like I said, I'm grateful for all that I've been through. In addition to that, I will also say that I am spiritually devout to the Lord. Amen. I'm Protestant by a matriarchal denomination, and I actually practice it pretty devoutly. Like, I'm not the person who like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, but like they never go to church or anything, which honestly, I want to just say right now, like that really does not mean anything. You could be a pretty devout, whatever your denomination is, and never step foot in the church. Like, whoever said you had to go to church every Sunday. I think that's a traditional practice that people have used to express their religion, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think Miley Cyrus said this, like, just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a good person. So shout out to Miley. Yeah, so I am a Protestant. I do actually go to church pretty regularly. I am a pretty devout Christian, and like I'm not in church every single day, but I do like practice my religion, and I practice the religious practices within it, within the denomination, pretty heavily. And it's actually been a lot easier to do that in this post quarantine era. I think it's a lot easier to be less distracted or more distracted. It really depends on who you are. But for me, particularly when it comes to my religious practices, it's easier for me to be less distracted and actually pay a lot more attention to some of the traditions that would have been harder to stick to had I been going to work regularly and commuting and doing all the additional stuff. So, yeah, I am a Protestant. Physically, I wouldn't say I'm like in the best shape of my life. Like, I'm not like, oh, like I'm not like 600 pounds. But I'm definitely at a high BMI. I think my BMI right now would tell me that I'm obese. I definitely am in a place where it's like I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to be healthy. I want to have a lifestyle change that is going to be impactful and that's going to help me as I continue to grow and continue to do more things. But like also fitness wise, I just want to be able to do more. So like I alluded to this earlier in other episodes that I have a dance background. I'm actually a Zumba instructor. And I used to do gymnastics. And I remember like always being happy around those things because I was just always so amazed and happy about the things that my body can do. And obviously, I fell off that trail. But I do want to kind of regain that sense and regain that happiness I used to feel about when I was rediscovering all the different things that my body could do. Like I could do handstands, and I could do walking handstands. It would be super cool. And I'd be so happy that I can do that. And I kind of just want to go back into that rediscovery stage, or I guess that discovery stage, and just kind of keep pushing my body to the limit. So, but that being said, I did start a weight loss journey, or I would say like a lifestyle change, because this is something that I'm looking at it through the lens of I want to be doing this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 6 years from now. And in order for me to do that, I need to kind of see this as a lifestyle change. So it's not really a weight loss journey, although I have lost weight since I've begun it. And I've been able to stick through it, thankfully, even with distractions. So there are opportunities, even though we are in quarantine, where like mama's cooking a really good but unhealthy dinner, or we're celebrating a holiday. I know we had Easter and we had to celebrate Memorial Day. And even through those, I was able to eat what I want to eat within my lifestyle change and not feel guilty or not feel like I was missing out, or if I didn't feel like this was unnormal. I didn't feel restricted or like I was on a diet. So I'm glad I got through 2 holidays so far and a couple of family dinners. And I'm really glad and I'm excited. So since then, I've actually lost 16 pounds across 6 weeks. And I think I'm going to be dropping some more. So I'm really excited about that. I ideally for my goal weight, I want to lose about 20 to 25 pounds extra. So in total, about 30 to 40 pounds. And I think I'll get there. I think I will definitely be able to reach my goal weight by the end of summer, if not even earlier. Seeing the progress that I've had now, and also realizing that I don't feel like I'm on a diet, I don't feel like I'm restricted or anything like that. I'm excited, and I'm happy that I'm making like great sustaining progress. So I'm going to stick to it and really commit to this nutrition stage. So shout out to Auntie Rona for keeping us all inside without a choice. And, also shout out to all of my friends who supported me throughout the journey and kind of helped me create my new lifestyle regimen so that I can stick to. And I think it's something that I will be able to also stick to even as we transition back to work and transition back to kind of leaving the house and going about our daily lives. So thanks, Auntie Rona. And shout out to anybody who's had similar experiences or in the same stage of wellness as I am. We gonna get through this, sister and brother. Okay? All right. So getting on to the topic of wellness, I want to first explain that wellness is not about just being free from illness. Like, it's not just that there's nothing wrong with me. Whether it's a perception that there's nothing wrong with you or like an actual factual statement, that's not wellness. Wellness is not the absence of blank, right? Wellness is more of like an active process of becoming aware and making choices that lead you towards a healthy and fulfilling life. So it's not enough for you to not be sick. You need to also be healthy. I was doing a little bit of research, trying to figure out how I wanted to structure this conversation with you guys. As I was kind of reading through some material, I actually found that there are actually 8 dimensions of wellness. But I was honestly surprised that there was more than 5. I was expecting to see 5. I looked up 5 types of wellness, and then I saw all these different links and sites that were showing me a much larger number. Like I said, there is said to be about 8 dimensions of wellness. And those 8 dimensions consist of occupational, which would be like your job or your vocation, mental, that we've all heard of, spiritual, we also heard of all that, environmental, which is like being aware of your surroundings and of the habitat and the environment that you live in, financial, that's related to like financial stability, physical, we all know what that is. Social wellness, that goes into how you are interacting with other people and how you're interacting and cultivating your relationships. And then intellectual, which is how you're kind of keeping your mind stimulated. So for the purpose of this episode, I don't want to go into all 8 dimensions of wellness just because I'm not well versed in all 8 of them. And I really want to talk to you guys from a place of experience and from a place of understanding. So for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to be focusing on the 4 common ones that we mostly hear about and that we probably have had some experience with at some point in our lives. And that's going to be emotional/mental wellness, financial wellness, spiritual wellness, and physical wellness. Not to say that the other ones are not important. In fact, the reason why wellness is such a popular topic and it's so avidly talked about and stressed as necessary to human being is because studies have shown that neglect of any one of those dimensions, not the 4 that we're focusing on, but neglect of any 8 of those dimensions for any length of time can actually have a negative effect on your overall health. All 8 dimensions of the wellness that I've mentioned are important and they are necessary to function as a human being. But with that being said, today I'm going to be focusing on the 4 common types that we hear about on a day-to-day. So again, I'm saying this, all aspects are important because I don't want nobody coming back to me be like, well, we should care about the environment. And I'm like, we should, right? And if you don't, you definitely should. But like I said, I just want to focus on those 4 because those are the ones that I've definitely have encountered on a day-to-day basis, sometimes more than I would like to. And also I want to give you guys the opportunity, like feel free to let me know if I should go in depth on any of the other ones. They were really interesting readings out there related to the 8 dimensions of wellness and tailored to specific dimensions that I thought was really interesting. So I'm happy to, create another episode where we can go a little bit into more depth of what the other dimensions look like. Okay, so before we start, I actually want to give you guys some basic definitions about the 4 types of wellnesses that we're going to be discussing. So y'all know me, I like to hit y'all with a little bit of background info and context because I hate going into discussions blind, not knowing even a little bit about what society has said. I mean, you can have your own definition, you can have your own experience, your knowledge related about a topic, but if it differs from what society is saying, that can be impactful. And if it aligns with what society is saying, that is also impactful. So I like to just kind of know what the common consensus is before I go in and completely fuck it up. Okay. So I'm going to be giving you guys some definitions. I'm also going to caveat here that I'm probably going to be using emotional and mental wellness interchangeably. I recognize that there are different types of wellness and that they do have different aspects to them, but I think the differences are subtle enough for me to be able to use them interchangeably in this context. And then, to have a little bit of fun, I decided that I'm actually going to rank those 4 wellnesses from least crucial to most crucial. And again, I want to say they are all important, but I do think that they're on a day to day. Some of them hold more weight than others, and I want to explore that notion here with you all. I want to see what you guys are thinking. As a disclaimer, these are 100% my opinions. They are not fact, aside from the definitions I'm about to give it you guys. So when it comes to ranking, just know that this is just something that I've thought up and that I kind of work and practice for myself. And I'm also going to be going through some other people's rankings because I did ask the question around and try to get some other thoughts. But they're all opinions, okay, guys? Like, nothing is fact except for the definitions that I'm about to give you guys. All right, so now to the definitions. Just to also give you guys some backgrounds, I got these definitions from UC Davis, which is the University of California, Davis. And I got them from their like student resources website. And I always try to go to like educational sources just because more often than not, you know that they've been vetted. And usually academic and scholarly sources are pretty well vetted and researched before they're like published out to the public. So got the information from UC Davis. Okay, so to start, emotional wellness relates to the understanding of your feelings and coping effectively with stress. It is important to pay attention to self-care, relaxation, stress reduction, and the development of inner resources so you can learn and grow from experiences. I typically agree with that. I will say that reading these definitions beforehand, I don't disagree with any of them, so I'm not really gonna go into depth about that. I really just kind of want to give you guys a basic framework to work with. Okay, so our next one, which is spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness allows you to develop a set of values that help you seek meaning and purpose. Spirituality can be represented in many ways. For example, through relaxation and religion. But being spiritually well means knowing which resources to use to cope with issues that come up in everyday life. Moving on to the third, physical wellness relates to maintaining a healthy body and seeking care when needed. Physical health is attained through exercise, eating well, getting enough sleep, and paying attention to the signs of illness and getting help when needed. And then last but not least, financial wellness. Financial wellness involves the process of learning how to successfully manage financial expenses. Money plays a critical role in our lives, and not having enough of it impacts health as well as academic performance. This was a college website, guys, so they're relating it to students. Financial stress is repeatedly found to be a common source of stress, anxiety, and fear. Again, like I said, all these definitions that we've been given, I agree with wholeheartedly, so there's no argument there. I was actually really surprised that I found this from a UC Davis website, but from what I understood about the university itself, they do allocate more resources to student performance and student wellness. So learning about that, I was just like, oh, okay, that kind of is on brand that they had a website dedicated to wellness. Okay, so now to go into ranking them. Again, my opinion, but we're gonna rank these in first, second, third, fourth. For me, it's actually gonna be first, second, third because I want to rank spiritual and mental wellness as first. I feel like they're very tied together. They're completely go hand in hand. Like if we go back to our definitions where it says being spiritually well means knowing which resources to use to cope with issues that come up in everyday life. And then emotional wellness says it's important to pay attention to self-care, relaxation, stress reduction, and the development of inner resources so you can learn and grow from your experiences. For me, they are completely like cousins. I wouldn't say they're one and the same because obviously spiritually people look to sometimes more commonly a higher power or to a rule around the universe that is more abstract. Whereas emotional wellness and mental wellness, there are a lot of more tangible things and tangible resources that people turn to kind of regulate their inner selves. So they're not one and the same. I will 100% acknowledge that, but I do think that you cannot have one without the other. And for those who are out there who are atheists, who say like they don't really believe in any type of deity, that's totally fine. I'm willing to bet that you do have a set of value, you have a code, you have a set of morals. And one piece of spiritual wellness is being able to develop a set of morals that can give you the meaning and the purpose that you're trying to find within your life. And that dictates your life's purpose. And that goes hand in hand with your emotional wellness because that set of values and that core belief will almost always influence how you feel and how you can process different experiences that make you feel different emotions, and how you can process traumatic and non-traumatic events that happen in your life. So again, I really do think that they go hand in hand, and for that I am ranking those two at number one. At number two, I'm going to be ranking physical wellness, which is the ability to maintain a healthy body and seek care when needed. I think, like they've always said, and this has been problematic when it's been said, but I do think there is value in it. Your body is your temple. I do think it is important to value your body and value what you put in it and how you plan to sustain it. In order for you to live a life worth living, I think your physical body plays a lot into that. And because of that, I have to rank it at number two. Physical wellness is key. Health is wealth. We all can agree with that now, especially with the coronavirus pandemic that we had to deal with. Health is wealth. So I'm definitely ranking it as the second most important. Right now, my one is most important and most crucial. My three is least important and least crucial. Yes, so right now at number one, we have emotional and spiritual. And then for number two, we have physical. And of course, that means for number three, financial wellness is actually last. But like I said before, last but not least, right? Because financial wellness, it's basically revolving around money. It means literacy, it means stability, it means you being able to know what to do to not be broke. Why did I put that last? Being a financial professional, being a professional that works for a financial services company, money is not all that. Yes, it makes the world go round. Yes, it plays a critical role in our lives. Yes, it can be the deciding factor between getting something and not getting something. But I think in my interactions, I've also seen money be a dangerous tool to ruining people's lives, and a tool that also has no value. I've seen people get turned down and turned away as clients, not because they didn't have enough money, but because their attitude was just completely disrespectful and despicable. And thankfully, I was on a team that didn't tolerate that bullshit. So it was just like, your money couldn't do nothing for you. And I think my motto or my understanding is like, my money's not going with me to the grave. Neither is my physical wellness, right? Because my body's going to decay. But my spirituality and my mental state technically wouldn't go, but my spirituality definitely will be able to come with me. And being in a physical state that's preserving, that's sustaining of your life force, can keep you away from death. And money can be attributed to that. So I think, and if I had to do in a circle, they all are interconnected and interrelated to each other. But I don't know. I just feel money is to be like, not the least of my worries. Obviously not. If anybody wants to make me rich, shoot me a check, please. But it's just something that I'm gonna like. It's not that it's not important. Again, everything is, all the different dimensions of wellness are important. It's more of the fact that I just don't think it's more important, or I wouldn't value it, at least right now, more than physical wellness and spiritual and emotional wellness. So those are my three ranks. I'm putting spiritual and emotional top, physical second, and financial last. I will say that if you probably asked me this 2 years ago when I was graduating from college, financial would have been first. If you asked me this 4 years ago when I was just starting college, physical would have been first, because I wanted to like be sexy and like be the cute freshman that everybody was hitting on and da da da. So this will change throughout my life, and who knows, I might lose my job and be completely broke and wiped out and my identity stolen, and the next thing you know, financial wellness is going to be top of mind. So I asked this question to my friends and I got a lot of different answers. So it was a gamut of a lot of variations of the different dimensions that they would have ranked. I told them to keep it to the 4, but some people went beyond that because, people don't listen. There was one friend who his answer was actually incredibly interesting, where he actually ranked physical first. And not to say that anyone's opinion is wrong. Like, for anyone who's ranking physical first, I can absolutely be attuned to that and understand why you would. But for me, I was just wondering, I was like, why? Like, why would you put physical first? Like, why wouldn't, like, for me at least, I thought commonly that it would either be spiritual, mental, or financial first. That's what I thought everyone would say. Obviously, not everyone said that. And for him, particularly, especially me knowing him as a friend, I just didn't expect that answer. So when he asked that, I was like, say more. So when I asked him why, he basically said in a nutshell, he was like, because I'd rather be depressed but be able to run a marathon than be happy in a wheelchair. And I was like, that's an interesting, first off, two interesting, like that would be a pretty good, like, would you rather? But secondly, I was like, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think he was looking at it in the now. He was looking at it as in, if somebody came up to me, held a gun to my head and said, okay, value the wellness, value the 8 dimensions of wellnesses, and then however you value them is how they're going to correlate within your life right now. And that's kind of how he took on that question. I just thought that was very interesting. So I will say that priorities will always shift from person to person, and they can even shift from moment to moment. But what was interesting in his explanation specifically was the factor of recovery. So he specifically mentioned that if he lost his legs right now in this day and age, all the modern science in the world would not give him that functionality back, at least not without an arm and a leg, also without having to give away both of his arms in exchange, because it would cost so much money. And because he kind of lost his legs and he lost that functionality, it would start like a cyclical mess into all the other dimensions. So his financial wellness, like he won't, like getting to work would be a lot harder, or maybe he won't even be able to work considering the job that he has now. Spiritual wellness, mental wellness, like that would help. Like he would be like, why did the universe forsake me? And mentally he's just gonna be like, why, and it'd be something that would be really hard to get over. And so that was his explanation. And he said, whereas if he was able-bodied but just, anxious or depressed or constantly sad and so on and so forth, he felt like, at least in today's modern day and age, there are many methods and practices in place that would allow him to tangibly recover from that. And then that would also trickle down into the other dimensions of wellness in his life. So with that explanation, I took his side. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to fight you on that. I think that's very important. The factor of recovery as we know it today when it comes to these different wellness dimensions are important. Particularly for me, it didn't change my rankings. I feel like in that same situation, I feel like mentally, if I was in a place, I would probably be able to cope with losing my legs rather than hating myself and hating life and hating all the things around me. And going to run a marathon, and maybe finding a moment of peace, but then going right back and reverting right back into that mental state of thinking. So doesn't change my rankings at all. But I was like, you know what, for someone who may have struggled with a lot of health scares, or who may have struggled with a weight loss journey, or who may have struggled with being disabled or impaired at any particular time, not that my friend was, but anyone who has had those experiences, I can 100% understand why they feel like the physical body can be such a fickle yet complex substance, and why they would value that a little bit more than the other dimensions of wellness, taking into effect the current state of modern medicine and technology on wellness. That was I was like, that's a valid ranking. I like to fight my friends. I like to be like the demon's advocate. I was like, but what about? But no, I really could not fight him on that. And I thought that was an interesting perspective to take. For my friends who actually ranked financial wellness first, they have jobs. They are perfectly stable in their financials. But they were thinking long term. They were thinking, I want to create generational wealth. I want to not have my children and my siblings grow up in the financial struggle that I did. And so for that, and because of that, I'm prioritizing that so that I can make the smart choices that can be trickled down onto anyone, family or not. I just want to be able to share the wealth, increase the wealth, and decrease that wage gap that we all currently struggle with, especially within the Black community. So I thought that was interesting. No matter perspective you take, first off, whatever you rank, you're not wrong, right? It's whatever that's relevant to you. But I thought it was interesting the different perspectives and perceptions that people were taking these questions in, where they were factoring in recovery and they were factoring in the future. Me, I was factoring in the present. I was factoring in what I can foresee within the next week and what I experienced in the past week or in the past month with this virus. This is a very important question, and actually could be a question that you can use in your relationships to understand how people are prioritizing themselves and how they are prioritizing the way that they want to grow as a human being, and if that aligns with your own prioritizations. They don't always have to, but being able to get a glimpse into that, I think, can be very telling for whoever it is you're trying to be with or grow a relationship with. So I want to ask you guys, put the question out to you guys, how would you rank these different dimensions of wellness? Like, you can keep it to the 4 that we went in depth with today, or we can go branch out to all 8. But I'd be really interested to just hear and know, like, what that's looking like. Like, what are you factoring into your rankings? And would you rather? Like, would you rather be depressed but able-bodied and able to like swim whenever you feel like? Or would you rather be happy and ecstatic and joyful but be confined to a wheelchair all your life? I'd be really interested in hearing how you guys could answer that question. So let me know your thoughts and don't be shy, guys. That is it for today, crew. Oh my God, that was great. Or at least I thought it was great. I don't know if y'all didn't think it was great, but I really want to thank you guys for listening. Be sure to share this episode with your friends so that they can join the crew. Yeah. And find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and Anchor. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram at _colored_in and give us your thoughts. I'm really like itching to hear what you guys have to say. So I'll be excited to hear from you guys, and I can't wait to speak with you soon. Stay nice and innovative.